Hi, this is Sally Morgan, physical therapist, craniosacral therapist, and Tellington T-Touch practitioner for animals and people. This is Tristan. He's a Corgi. And today we're going to talk about one of my favorite / least favorite topics, which is fleas. So here in the Northeast, I have, like up here in New England, I haven't heard about anybody with a flea situation, although we will be talking about one of those people a little bit later. But I have had 2 or 3 phone calls from Pennsylvania and New Jersey, in addition to which any of you who follow my sister know that she's got a flea situation going on in her house. So I'm going to review again about what to do when you have a bunch of fleas. My sister did a talk about fleas recently, so if you want to look that up on Facebook under Judy Morgan DVM, go ahead and do that. She's opting for the give the dogs a bunch of baths and put everything in the washing machine, and I don't even know if she mentioned essential oils or anything like that. She noted in her talk that because they don't have carpet in the house, it's easier to get rid of the fleas, which is true. However, I once moved into a place with hardwood floors that were maybe 20 years old, and there were cracks between the boards, not like there are in this room, but in some of the other areas of my house. And the fleas were living in the floorboard cracks. So when me and my poor little Corgi Winnie started walking around in there, we started to hatch the flea eggs, and there was an infestation in that house that was unbelievable. I mean, they were biting me. They were everywhere, and like up to my knees biting me. And I didn't know as much then as I know now about how to get rid of them. But no one had lived in that house for 2 or 3 years. And when Winnie and I moved in, the fleas were like, hooray, Thanksgiving dinner at last. And it took me 6 months to get rid of them, including using different products on my dog, which even then, this is going back to 1991, I was not thrilled about, or even 1990, but I still had to put some products on him because the fleas were so out of control. So this is what to do when you have some fleas. And this is partially recommended by my sister, although not lately. One of the things she says to do if you've got a real problem. So if this friend of mine has 4 dogs and one of them's a Sheltie with a full coat. So her others are all like Jack Russell-y types with flat hair. Not such a problem to flea comb them and find some fleas, but if you're finding 2 to 3 fleas on your dogs every day, that doesn't mean you only have a couple fleas. That means you have a couple adults living on your dog, and there's a bazillion eggs in the house, and there are a bunch of adults that are going to be looking for a dog soon because fleas are only living on the dog for a certain short period of their life cycle. So the rest of the time, they're out doing their thing. So if you're finding a couple on your dog, that still means you have a trillion in your house. And my sister used to say, and I think she still does, that if you have cats, the problem is a million times worse because cats have thinner skin and are much more tasty to a flea. And a flea would really prefer a cat to a dog any day. And if they're biting you, you really got a problem because you're even less delicious than a cat. So the first thing to do is to treat all the cats you have, and my sister recommends Advantage 2. Remember, Advantix can kill a cat, so you want to get Advantage 2. And there's like 4 treatments in the box, or 3, but she says to do 2 treatments, maybe 27 days apart instead of 30, which it says on the box, just to get on top of them. And if you do nothing else, that should eliminate the flea problem. And so my friend with the fluffy dog and the 3 not so hairy dogs is putting the Advantage 2 on just her fluffy dog, hoping that if she can keep the fleas off of him, she can comb them and do some of the other things I'm talking about to manage the situation with the other small dogs. But still, combing 3 small dogs every day, twice a day with a flea comb, that's a lot of work. And you're still not getting the eggs. So the other important thing in my flea prevention and control system has always been this old standby, the 20 Mule Team Borax. It's a laundry booster, usually on the bottom shelf, hidden away in your laundry aisle. They've got this new kind of organic green looking box here. But really, it says on the back of it, it's for laundry boosting, for a ½ cup every load, removes stains, alternative to bleach, deodorizes, freshens, softens hard water, bathroom cleaning. Sprinkle with the Mule Team Borax, sponge or wipe, cleans without chemical fumes and scratching, removes soap scum, eliminates odors. Kitchen cleaning, same thing. Counters, appliances, removes grease and grime, makes dishes sparkling clean. So this is great stuff. What I use it for with regard to fleas is I get a little scooper and I sprinkle it everywhere in the house. Soft surfaces, hard surfaces. You can put it on the sofa, the chair, the rugs. You can put it under the rugs. Don't forget, under rugs. If you have, you know, like I do in here, I have like 9 by 12 throw rugs around the house as my carpet because the whole downstairs is wood in case I have a dog situation. And make sure you get under the carpets with this stuff. Throw it under, like lift up the corner and just throw it under there. So after you put the borax everywhere in your house, then I recommend doing the whole house at the same time, which means you're going to be vacuuming upstairs and downstairs in the basement and wherever else, and inside your car if your dog rides in the car a lot. And then you just vacuum it up. You don't have to leave it sit there for 3 hours. You don't have to pray over it. You don't have to do anything except sprinkle and vac. And then when you're done with that, you take the vacuum cleaner bag and dispose of it. And don't use it because the fleas will come out the other end and you may get some more eggs around your house. So you want to get a vacuum cleaner bag that you're going to throw away, and it will be full. I mean, for my house here, it's 2,100 square feet. This box would do the whole house, and that would pretty much fill a vacuum cleaner bag. And it's important that you toss it under the furniture, in the corners. And what it is very drying. So it kills the eggs, kills the fleas, kills spiders, kills mites, any kind of beasties you have in your house. And it's so simple to do. I really wish my sister would do this in her house because she had a problem with mites a couple years ago because one of the dogs had rolled in some dead thing that had mites, and the mites were on the dog, and then it spread through the 10 dogs, and it was very itchy and microscopic and hard to see and hard to treat, and it was a big mess. And I don't think mites are any different than fleas in their ability to hide in a house. You know, the house is mopped constantly and vacuumed like twice a week. So, you know, they are on top of things. But I still think the borax would be a big addition that would be very helpful. And this is true if you have like guest rooms where you hardly ever go, or maybe the dining room where you hardly ever go. Get it under everything and then vacuum it up. When you do this, I always wear a bandana around my nose because the dust that it kicks up is pretty drying even to you. It doesn't hurt you. I mean, I've had cancer and I'll do this, so it's got to be pretty darn safe for me to do it. And I always put the dog somewhere, you know, if I'm not doing the car, I put the dog in the car or something so that he is not, or lock him in my closet and then do the closet last. You know, something like that, just because he's a low rider and he's going to have a lot more exposure than I will, and I don't want to risk making him sick. I mean, on a nice day like this, I would put him on the deck with a bone or something, and he wouldn't even know that mommy's in here going to town with the vacuuming. And to that end, you know, you're going to vacuum it all up, but if your dogs walk on it and get some on their feet and lick it, it's not going to be hurting them at all. So that's why I really recommend the 20 Mule Team Borax. I mean, I am so grateful to my friend who lives in a 200-year-old house who told me about this because you know, she gets mice and things coming in from time to time. She's got cats to keep the mice at bay, and she lives in a southern state, and so she can get a flea problem pretty regularly, and the borax really helps. And then in that old house too, in the south, there's spiders and everything else, and this just dries out everybody. So you've got a pest-free house. Now, my friend in Pennsylvania is also having some kind of exterminator system come, and they spray inside and outside of the house every couple of months. So I said, you know, you might not want to do the inside guy when you've got 4 dogs. Just use this a couple times a year, the borax, and you may have ants and stuff like that gone too. It's really good for all that stuff. And if you find an ant nest like under your house, like in your yard, you can sprinkle this on it and it'll take care of the problem. So borax is really helpful. And that is really what I think is key to stopping the flea problem. So if I had a dog come here to see me in my house here, the other important thing to know is that once a flea's on a dog, he's pretty happy there, and he's not really willing to jump off and go to another dog unless he's really got something going on with him, the flea. So if I have a dog come to my house that has fleas, and knock on wood, I haven't had one come here yet, I will immediately get the borax and do the whole office and vacuum that all up, and a path around the living room where the dog might have walked in on the hardwood, just to get on top of it immediately and minimize that problem. I will never forget, I put a sheet down on top of my Berber carpet in my old house when I had a new dog coming. I just happened to have the sheet because I was going to go in the wash anyway, and I didn't know the dog, and I knew he was a pretty hairy Samoyed mix. That dog was loaded with fleas, and I had this yellow sheet on the floor, and you could just see the fleas going everywhere. And I was able to keep like picking the sheet up and pushing them back in towards the dog. So we were able to do his treatment, and his person was somewhat mortified. But really, I mean, I boraxed the living room, and I never had a flea problem after, dog loaded with fleas was in my office. So the borax is just a miracle. And then, as I said, if you've got a really hairy dog, like my friend has, and she's a much bigger house than me, the 2 treatments of Advantage 2, and if you really have a big problem, you might have to do 3 treatments. So that would be, 1 today, 1 in a month, and 1 in another month to get on top of them. But that should really be all you need to do. In addition to which, my friend who's only putting it on her fluffy dog, the Advantage 2, and she's doing the others, she's putting them in the bathtub like every 3rd day just to wash off any fleas that are on them. And this is another secret. You do not have to wash them in toxic flea repellent soap. You can use any old Suave coconut or Avalon Organics. Lavender is good. And just leave the suds on the dog in the tub for about 10 minutes, and that'll kill the fleas that are on him and also some of the eggs. And then you can rinse them. Now, when you're doing the rinsing, if you see a couple fleas going down the drain, that means you got to be washing that dog in a couple more days. And my friend may end up putting Advantage 2 on a couple more of her dogs. She's got one that's really a senior, had an Advantix reaction, and so she's nervous about putting it on that dog. But really, that's one of the problems that you might have if you have several dogs and you're only treating one dog. But if she does the borax and washes all those pups the same day, she should be on top of things. You can put the borax on their beds. Just make sure you really vacuum everything up. It only takes 1 application. It goes into a super fine powder, and it agitates into the rug as you vacuum. So, and it will go under and into the floorboards and along the cracks in the walls. It's like super good. In fact, they should use it in hospitals where there's scabies, because I think it would kill scabies too, but I don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure. So my other friend, who has the flea situation, who lives up here and is now on top of it, she finally did something chemical for one of her dogs. So she's got a bunch of ancient Chihuahuas with a lot of problems, and then she's got a little fluffy Alaskan miniature husky dog. And so because the where she lives is very densely populated, and there's a lot of cats and there's a lot of fleas, and her dogs go out in a yard the size of a kitchen table, and therefore that yard gets infested with fleas, and every time they go out they're bringing more in. So she tried for about 3 years to just flea comb them, and she'd say, I just got 1 flea off of him. And I'm like, that 1 flea means you have thousands in your house. And she did. I mean, to her benefit, she has a wood stove and she cranks it in the winter, and her house is pretty small, so it was super dry in there, which probably helped. But after 3 years of doing nothing, she doesn't even give the little guys, the Chihuahuas, baths because she's so worried about them, because they are. All of them were supposed to be dead when they were 5, and they're like 12 and 15 now. So she has not used the borax either, and I really wish she would, because she's so worried about what it might do to the Chihuahuas. But she finally, her furrier dog was miserable. I mean, all the fleas were living on that dog because she couldn't flea comb her as well as the little guys. And she finally got a Seresto collar, and finally that dog has no fleas. And I got to tell you, her flea problem over 3 years of trying to manage it without going to a chemical resort was so bad that she takes that dog for runs and stuff. So the husky was in her car a lot. And I would sit in the front seat of her car, and they'd be biting my ankles, the fleas. And I had to always figure out a polite way to not let my dog near her dog or her car because of the fleas. So putting the collar on that one dog has really kind of cut down on the problem, in addition to which vacuuming frequently and washing the Chihuahuas. So she's doing okay with that. But, I think that to not use the borax, I think it's fine if you're only going to put chemicals on one of your dogs. If you've got a super hairy one, you can't flea comb or wash a ton of times. I think that's actually your best option. But I would not venture into the world of fleas without borax by my side, because that really just knocks them out of your environment. And you can even sprinkle it outside where those Chihuahuas go. I'd sprinkle it out there and, the day before it's going to rain all night and just let it sit, and it will kill anything that's out there, and ants, whatever. And then it will rain and it will be safe to put the chihuahuas back out in the morning. So borax is really my friend. I keep this box ready to go in my house at all times, and when this is gone, I will get another one. You can even use it for stains on carpets. You dissolve it in some water and sponge it on the carpet, let it dry and vacuum it up, and it'll pull the stain up if you've got puppies who have made a mess, or maybe a sick dog who barfed on one of your rugs. So I find the borax just an amazing adjunct to my dog life. My entire house has the aroma. It never had a flea problem. What is it? Oh, use aromatherapy prevention. Yes, that's a good idea. Aromatherapy can be great. And there's a lot of different types of essential oils you can use to cut down on the fleas and critters coming into your house. Eucalyptus is good. Lavender's good. There's a whole bunch of them. Yeah, Rita, this is about fleas. Rita, if you live in the mid-Atlantic and you're having a flea problem, watch this and my sisters. So fleas really, I mean, they just can make you nuts. And I have a friend who breeds and shows championship French bulldogs. She's a vet. And I said, you know, these are such odd little dogs. What were they originally bred for? You want to know what they were bred for? To collect the fleas off of ladies in France who were sewing garments all day. And the itching that they had from the fleas was creating a disruption in the assembly line. And so the ladies had the French bulldogs on their laps, and they would attract the fleas, and then the ladies could work harder. Really a sad commentary on our life, but you know, that really is one of the benefits. They say if you lie down with dogs, you're bound to get fleas. In fact, when you slept with dogs, the fleas went to the dogs instead of you, and you could get a good night's sleep. So our history with dogs has been intertwined with fleas for 250 years at least. So anyway, that's my advice. Get the borax. Advantage 2, if you've got a hairy dog and you want to go the chemical route. I mean, my friend with the Sheltie, she tried all the essential oils on the dog. She tried rose geranium, which is really better for ticks than fleas. She tried lavender. She tried a couple of other things, and she could not get on top of it because there's just so many dogs in her house, and she has a huge house. So her and her husband are going to be boraxing and vacuuming and washing some dogs. And now that the advantage is on the hairier dog, I think she's, you know, riding the hill on the downhill slide to no more fleas. So good luck with the flea season this year. And good news here in New England, they're reporting that because we had over 30 days above 90 degrees, which is unheard of. We usually have 5. The deer ticks have just been like wiped out. They don't like the heat. I think they're hiding because I don't think anything bothers ticks, but they're saying we're going to have a really light fall with Lyme disease and things because of the deer ticks. So not being here, yay, that's one good thing. If I had a huge problem with them, I might try the borax on them, but really the cedar works well for them. And the cedar works well for the fleas too, cedar oil, if you want to go the oil route. But I can only take about a week of cedar. Smells really strongly. It's kind of fun at first, then you're like, ooh. So, good luck with the flea situation. Share this with your fleasy friends. And get rid of those things. Yeah, use cedar. Cedar's good. Cedar's really the best thing to use outside because it stays in the environment. But my poor husky friend with the sick chihuahua, she was so worried about even cedar being too much for chihuahuas that she wouldn't spray it outside. And I was like, she had a cat for a long time, and that's where the cat went outside. So I think that's part of the problem. Those kitties. Everybody have a great day. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow around 9:30. My time is broken. My clock in my living room is broken too. I think that's part of the problem. All right, we'll see you tomorrow around 8:30. Bye-bye. Have a great day, everybody.